Howdy, howdy. We are waiting for it to begin in roughly 6 minutes. Hopefully there'll be more timely today, since all there has to be is Alex. I wanted to come on just a couple minutes early because I have FOMO. Like I did last night, I kind of I was like, how am I gonna know when the verdict comes in? Like, someone have an alert? Like, we're winding down for bed, and I just went online. I'm like, maybe I'll see if I have notifications for law and crime, and then what do you know? Everybody was on. Is that any better? I also have that very much.
Okay, I think my headphones were linking up with the computer. Is that any better? Sorry about the fuzziness. Okay, good. Yeah, I think thank you also, by the way. Sorry for my morning voice. We talked quite a bit last night and to my husband, to neighbors, to whomever would listen. I'm going to share this real quick too. Not a notification. I'm just scared I'm going to miss something. I know they said 9:30, which I thought was so hilarious when the judge was like, "State, when can you be ready?" And they're like, "Tomorrow morning at 9:30." I thought they were going to say like this afternoon or something. It's like, when does court open? Then, yep, that's when we'll be ready. We'll be ready then. Oh my goodness. I wonder if Maggie's family is going to be there, but I strongly doubt it. I still think, I believe people believe he did it, but I still think they just don't want to have to be there. They don't want to have to go through one heartache and have to sit there and look at somebody that they loved and go through that as well. Oh yeah, the appeal is going to be a crap show, but I honestly don't think any judge, maybe I'm losing my voice. I don't know if people around here will really take it seriously. I think it is such a shit show, and so many people are involved. And he threw so many law enforcement and attorneys and whomever else under the bus. And a judge got called out for the badge he administered. I don't know what the term would be for that. When it was just supposed to be an assistant solicitor's or a volunteer solicitor's badge, and turns out he gave him a real big boy solicitor badge. So I don't know if anybody's really going to want to touch this as far as an appeal. Especially when he admitted to the crimes on the stand. I know the defense's thing is none of this hoopla is related to the murders. None of the boat crime or anything, all of those don't make him a murderer, which is true, but it does provide the entire picture and motive. And I think especially since he admitted to those things on the stand, I don't see it being something that people are willing to appeal. I know everyone out there in media land was like, there's so many trials in one. Yes, partially, I'm sure that's due to motive. And yes, they're coming after him for all these horrific financial crimes. So if you can get him to admit them on the stand, like, since you're up there, can we get you for this? Why not? Who wouldn't pass that up? And again, as a South Carolinian citizen, I want them to put these people away, and especially as a special needs parent, the shit that he and Russell Lafitte did to Hakeem Pinckney. I get real violent thoughts when that comes up. So, I said I was going to do something now. Oh, I was going to send this out. And obviously, court hasn't started yet, unless sometimes, again, I have severe FOMO with this. Let's see if I can pull up another. Not tornadoes. I'm not really interested in tornadoes right now. Shit, where is that happening? Can't. Got to pause tornadoes right now. Is it in Florida? They'll be okay. We'll deal with it. Oh, we're gonna not. Might get some. Okay. No. Okay, I might just share Law and Crimes because, I mean, whatever, another news station, because Law and Crimes, I can visually see with the seal if they're coming back or not. There we go. And let's go ahead and unmute that because they don't have anybody talking during it. Oh, it's stormy there? Yikes, be careful. I can't remember. Okay, with last night's conversation, are you in Arkansas, Kansas, or Missouri? Now I'm super confused. And be safe also. All of the other crimes give credence to his state of mind during this crime. That feels relevant to me as well. Especially with the timing of, he was confronted that morning, the murders occurred that night. He was forced to resign, and then a day later, he was shot in the head. Arkansas. Okay. I don't think I've ever been there. I have been to Missouri and Kansas, but not Arkansas. I'm interested to hear what Judge Newman has to say, because that's when the judge typically gets their turn to kind of, pardon me, they kind of be like, all right, I've been here listening for 6 weeks now. You did this, you did this, you did this. Just sharing. I'm kind of scared that the Murdaugh podcast isn't going to be anymore. They said that they're going to announce something. I'm sure she's like really tired. Yes, there's a lot more to cover, especially in regard to Stephen Smith and his financial crimes. I don't really think Mandy gives two shits about Alec. I think she cares about the victims, and that's what she wants to cover. But I've listened to her for like 3 years. What am I going to do? She doesn't know, but she's my friend. She can't leave me. Shared that. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Liz Sparrow, the other person on the podcast, Mandy's bestie. Today is 4 years since Mallory Beach's body was found 5 miles from where Paul Murdaugh crashed his dad's boat into a bridge. It is bittersweet that today will also be the day Paul's father is sentenced for his murder. My thoughts are with Mallory's family and friends today. Yeah. And then apparently Gloria Satterfield's death anniversary is earlier or was earlier this week. Someone also wrote a juror speaks out, quoted as saying, a good liar, but not good enough. 45 minutes to an hour. That's how long the juror says it actually took them to get a unanimous guilty verdict for Alex Murdaugh. I would imagine they probably took some time to, pull themselves first, see where everyone was, see how much work they had to do, and then probably just soaked all this in. Again, even though their identities are still supposed to be under seal, they have the choice of speaking to the media if they want. I mean, their lives are never going to be the same, and they went through a really traumatic event. Seeing crime scene photos, which I would not look at. I know we didn't. We were shown the redacted versions, but even with that, I'm just not interested. But they had to see it. They had to endure keeping their family and friends out of the loop of them being a juror, except for Chicken Egg Lady. But they weren't able to talk to each other about it. How hard would that be to have the biggest white elephant in the room? 12 to 18 of you at a time are sitting there staring at each other. Sure, you can talk, but you can't talk about the trial. Now you finally can. Again, I imagine they probably took some time to have conversations about the trial itself, about Alec, about the experience, about their fears or whatever about what's going to happen when this is over. I agree with Rose. I would have still ordered dinner. I'm like, yeah, let's get one last meal. I don't even know if the court pays for dinner or not, but if they did, especially. But I get really hangry, and that was close to 7 at night. I would have been like, I'm so sorry. I know we want to get this over, but I need a burrito. At least one taco. No, there are food trucks right outside the door. Please, somebody get me a taco, and then we can go in. Or would you be like fight or flight, too nervous and not able to eat? That could have happened too. I just keep joking about moving to Missouri because they legalized. Oh, nice. I have family that live in Missouri. I don't know what. Yeah. One's Kansas City, the most confusing city of them all. Yeah, some might be too scared to reveal themselves, but last night they did pan the jury. I don't know if they did that intentionally or not, but they were on there for a hot moment after they gave the verdict. Like, I thought that still wasn't allowed, which technically it's not, but it was on there. I think the foreman was like well, whatever. I saw her. Share this out. I figured if I scheduled this later, they would have came right on time, and I know if I did it a little bit before they'd probably be super late. So, you know, damned if you do, but not damned like Alex Murdaugh. No, I can't type.
All rise. Court is now in session.
There we go.
Judge Newman presides.
All right, I'm gonna mute and enlarge this. Sounds quite weird, doesn't it?
Be seated.
Oh, I might go back to the, sorry, real freaking quick here. Boop. Because Law and Crime has different angles, I will pull that up. Boop, 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 boop. Now that we know they're back. And are you muted? You're muted.
Parties ready to proceed?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Bench is ready, Your Honor.
All right, from the state, Mr. Waters.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're obviously here in the sentencing for the state versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh. Your Honor, I have prepared the sentencing sheets signed up. If I can hand those up to the clerk. Your Honor, very quickly, the defendant has no prior record, and the state has no victim impact people who want to speak at this time. But I will address the court briefly. And I don't need, Your Honor, to repeat the evidence that Your Honor just heard for the past 6 weeks, but it is overwhelming. And it shows this man to be a cunning manipulator, a man who placed himself above all others, including his family. A man who violated the trust of so many, including his friends, his family, his partners, his profession, but most of all, Maggie and Paul. This is a very complicated situation, and I want to offer my condolences to the family that has suffered here. We have tried very hard to be respectful and sensitive regardless of what position any person took, because this family has suffered and they've had to suffer in the public eye. And I want to offer my condolences to this family. I want to offer it for Maggie and Paul and Mr. Randolph too, who I had the pleasure of working with on one occasion. But the reality remains is that despite all this attention, this case is about Maggie Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh, and I'm so thankful that the jurors gave them a voice. You heard about Paul. Obviously, there was the boat case, but you also heard him described as a fun-loving young man, a person who loved life, a person who would do anything for his friends, for anyone. And he's cut down as he was just starting to live his life. You heard about Maggie. You heard how sweet she was. You heard that she was a girl's girl who adapted to the outdoorsman life of her sons, how much she loved her sister and her brother-in-law, and their children, and she was cut down in the prime of her life. Both of them, like everyone else, was unaware of who he really was. No one who thought they knew this man, no one who thought they were close to this man knew who he really was. And Your Honor, that's chilling. And I've looked in his eyes, and he liked to stare me down as he would walk by me during this trial. And I could see the real Alex Murdaugh when he looked at me. The depravity, the callousness, the selfishness of these crimes are stunning. The lack of remorse and the effortless way in which he lies, including here sitting right over there in this witness stand. Your Honor, a man like that, a man like this man, should never be allowed to be among free, law-abiding citizens again. And I would submit to you that the only just sentence here to give justice for Maggie and Paul is the maximum, and that would be 2 consecutive life sentences. Thank you, Your Honor.
You indicate that no victim would like to speak at this time. Would any victim like to speak at any time during these proceedings?
Your Honor, one of the things we did early on, obviously, as I just said, it's a very complicated situation, but we made the decision early on. We've had our victim advocate here who's been doing a wonderful job, regardless of the viewpoints of any individual family member, to provide aid and service to them, and we made that decision. I'm informed by our victim advocate that none of them wish to speak. The defense can certainly address that, but that's what I'm informed. But they certainly were offered the opportunity as is required. And I want to commend our victim advocate on the excellent job she did in handling this complex situation that we wanted to be sensitive to, because again, none of us are not mindful of the fact of the suffering of this family.
I noticed Flag Chief Mark Keel is here. Would you like to address the court on any matters, Chief?
No, sir. Just to say, again, very proud of our agents, the work they've done. I'm proud of the partnership that we've had with the Attorney General's office as we've had for many years. And again, we're here to see justice is served, and we believe it has been.
Thank you. For the defense.
Your Honor, Mr. Griffin and I would have no comment. The defendant would like to address the court, though.
Mr. Murdaugh.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm innocent. I would never hurt my wife, Maggie, and I would never hurt my son, Paul.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Sit down.
Anything further?
I don't think further comment is necessary, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Murdaugh, if you'll come before the court for sentencing. This has been perhaps one of the most troubling cases, not just for me as a judge, for the state, for the defense team, but for all of the citizens in this community, all the citizens in this state, and as we have seen based on the media coverage throughout the nation. You have a wife who's been killed, murdered, a son savagely murdered, a lawyer, a person from a respected family who has controlled justice in this community for over a century, a person whose grandfather's portrait hang at the back of the courthouse that I had to have ordered removed in order to ensure that a fair trial was had by both the state and the defense. And I've sat through the trial. Not only have I sat through the trial, but also as the presiding judge of the state grand jury, sat through and participated in the issuance of search warrants of various sorts, bond hearings, and have had to consider many things. And we have this case, and I'm also assigned to preside over 99 others, at least 99 other cases. Though testimony has come up regarding many of those other cases, I will not make any comment with regard to any other pending matter, as I have been assigned those cases as well. It's also particularly troubling, Mr. Murdaugh, because as a member of the legal community and a well-known member of the legal community, you've practiced law before me, and we've seen each other at various occasions throughout the years. And it was especially heartbreaking for me to see you go in the media from being a grieving father who lost a wife and a son to being the person indicted and convicted of killing them. And you've engaged in such duplicitous conduct here in the courtroom, here on the witness stand, and as established by the testimony throughout the time leading from the time of the indictment and prior to the indictment throughout the trial to this moment in time. Certainly, you have no obligation to say anything other than saying not guilty. And obviously, as appeals are probably expected or absolutely expected, I would not expect a confession of any kind. In fact, as I've presided over murder cases over the past 22 years, I have yet to find a defendant who could go there, who could go back to that moment in time when they decided to pull the trigger or to otherwise murder someone. I have not been able to get anyone, any defendant, even those who have confessed to being guilty, to go back and explain to me what happened at that moment in time when they opted to pull the trigger, when they opted to commit the most heinous crimes known to man. In this case, qualifies under our death penalty statute based on the statutory aggravating circumstances of two or more people being murdered by the defendant by one act or pursuant to one scheme or course of conduct. I don't question at all the decision of the state not to pursue the death penalty. But as I sit here in this courtroom and look around the many portraits of judges and other court officials and reflect on the fact that over the past century, your family, including you, have been prosecuting people here in this courtroom, and many have received the death penalty, probably for lesser conduct. Remind me of the expression you gave on the witness stand. Was it tangled?
Tangled web, we weave.
Oh, what tangled web we weave. What did you mean by that?
And then when I lied, I continue to lie.
And the question is, when will it end? When will it end? And it's ended already for the jury because they've concluded that you continued to lie and lied throughout your testimony. And perhaps with all the throng of people here, they, for the most part, all believe, or 80, 90%, 99% believe that you continue to lie now when your statement of denial to the court. Perhaps you believe that it does not matter, that there's nothing that can mitigate a sentence given the crimes that were committed. You know, a notice of alibi was filed in this case by counsel in November, and we conducted a hearing, pretrial hearing, in which you claimed to have been someplace else at the time the crime was committed. Then, after all of the witnesses placed you at the scene of the crime, at the last minute, or last minutes or days, you switch courses and admitted to being there. And then that necessitated more lies and continued to lie. And I said, where will it end? It's already ended for many who have heard you and concluded that it'll never end. But within your own soul, you have to deal with that. And I know you have to see Paul and Maggie during the night times when you're attempting to go to sleep. I'm sure they come and visit you. I'm sure.
All day and every night.
Yeah, I'm sure. And they will continue to do so. And reflect on the last time they looked you in the eyes, as you looked the jury in the eyes. I don't know person who's always been such a gregarious, friendly person and cause your life to be tangled in such a web, such a situation that yours have spun into. And it's so unfortunate because you had such a lovely family of such friendly people, including you, and to go from that to this. You know, your license to practice law has been stripped away from you. You turned from lawyer to witness, and now have an opportunity to make your final appeal as an ex-lawyer. And it's really surprising that you're waiving this right at this time. And if you opt to do so, it's on you. You're not compelled to say anything, but you have the opportunity to do so.
Judge, I tell you again, I respect this court, but I'm innocent. I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my wife, Maggie, and I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my son, Paul Paul.
Well, and it might not have been you. It might have been the monster you become when you take 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 opioid pills. Maybe you become another person. I've seen that before. The person standing before me was not the person who committed the crime, though it's the same individual. We'll leave that at that. Before announcing sentence on these cases, with regard to all of the other pending cases, are any of them here in Colleton, or I'm sure some of them are?
Yes, sir.
Half of them, or?
I don't have that in front of me, but there are a substantial number of charges here. There's some in Hampton, Orangeburg, Beaufort, Allendale. There may be others I'm not thinking of right now.
We might have worn out our welcome here in Colleton.
Colleton's been great.
They have been, and I'll take this opportunity to thank Sheriff Hill and all of the court officials and really everyone I've met and dealt with while here in Colleton County. Just been great. But without any delay, we're going to schedule some of the other matters. I know Mr. Harpootlian's scheduling is complicated, and you've sacrificed quite a bit to be able to be here defending Mr. Murdaugh, as well as the Attorney General's office, with all the other many things and obligations you have. And to be able to have the Attorney General here, Alan Wilson, for the period of time that he's devoted to being here, along with everyone else, it's been quite a sacrifice. But there are other victims whose cases deserve to be heard. And this case has jumped some of those other cases, perhaps jumped it because of this case resulting in an assault on the integrity of the judicial system in our state, law enforcement in our state. Even during this trial, the law enforcement have been maligned for the past 5 or 6 weeks by one who had access to the wheels of justice, to be able to deflect the investigation. And as the evidence is pointed out in this case, the looming storm that Mr. Waters talked about, I can just imagine on that day, June 7th, when a lawyer is confronted and confesses to having stolen over $500,000 from a client, and he has a tiger like Mark Tinsley on his tail pursuing discovery in the case involving the death of Mallory Beach, and having a father, for the most part, on his deathbed. I can imagine, I really can't imagine, but I know it had to have been quite a bit going through your mind on that day. But amazingly, to have you come and testify that it was just another ordinary day, that my wife and son and I were out just enjoying life. Not credible, not believable. You can convince yourself about it, but obviously you have the inability to convince anyone else about that. So if you made any such arguments as a lawyer, you would lose every case like that. Cases you will never have an opportunity to argue anymore, except perhaps your own as you sit in the Department of Corrections. Anything further?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Murdaugh, I sentence you to the State Department of Corrections on each of the murder indictments in the murder of your wife, Maggie Murdaugh. I sentence you for the term of the rest of your natural life for the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably love so much. I sentence you to prison for murdering him for the rest of your natural life. Those sentences will run consecutive. Under the statute involving possession of a weapon during a violent crime, there is no sentence where a life sentence is imposed on other indictments. That is the sentence of the court, and you are remanded to the State Department of Corrections. And officers may carry forth on the imposition. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry. I don't know why I feel like I have to say sorry, but I do. I didn't realize this is gonna hit me the way that it is. Why is John Marvin smiling? I'm so confused. Your brother just got sentenced to life in prison for killing your sister-in-law and your nephew. Was so fucking joyful. I don't think it's cool, like when anybody loses their life for whatever reason, whether it's in prison forever or death.
Before we adjourn,
I'm glad, but
an order was issued concerning maintaining the
I believe
juror's identity being anonymous. That order was issued, and for the most part, it's been complied with.
I believe you might be right, Tina.
Except for the jury leaving the courtroom yesterday, or not the jury, but the defendant leaving the courtroom while the jury is still seated.
Yep, that did happen.
Protecting the identity of the jurors is certainly extremely important during the course of a trial to ensure that no one makes contact with the jury or attempts to influence the jury. Jurors have a right to continue that privacy beyond their jury service.
Yeah, and you see what
but they're not obligated to do so. And it would not surprise me if if jurors choose to come forward and to speak, and they're encouraged to do so if that is their desire. I have no problem whatsoever with the jurors unmasking themselves and speaking freely with the media, because they have undergone a life-changing experience as relates to many of them. And some of them are here now, and I want them to know that should anyone attempt to harass them or annoy them, please let me know and I will address the issue. Secondly, there's a complaint now regarding the posting of autopsy photographs or photos that came from within the courtroom, just based on the direction of the photographs. It did not come from the audience, came somehow from within the well of the court. The parties have requested an investigation of that. I have my hands full doing my job, and I don't attempt to conduct any investigations beyond the conducting of a trial, but to the extent that law enforcement decides to review that, that's will be the responsibility of law enforcement. Yes. And of course, one of the reasons we've sought to seal graphic photos is because the parties have a right to privacy and a right to those matters not being publicly disclosed. If anyone has heard about the recent settlement that Kobe Bryant's, another sports analogy, Kobe Bryant's wife just made with Los Angeles County and others out there over certain disclosures of information involving the death of Kobe Bryant, liability can be substantial, and it's a risk for the most part that's not worth taking. So we'll let everyone judge themselves accordingly with that regard. Aside from all that, our business is done here in Colleton County, and I get to use my gavel one or few times during this trial and order that court be adjourned. Sine die.
All rise.
Whoever released those photos needs to. Gross. Gross, 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 gross. Who would fucking do that? Nobody has to, but just in case anybody wants to. I don't know how much longer. Mark Tinsley, oh my gosh. Why is he going up to Jim Griffin? Wait, that isn't Jim Griffin, is it? Who is that? That is Jim Griffin. Why is everybody hugging Jim Griffin? His client just got sentenced to life. Like, I wouldn't think they'd be wanting to. Mark Tinsley, and he's the one that represented the victims of the boat crash. But I'm sorry, my thoughts are all over the place. Yes, it feels like a series finale, and I think that's what I'm sad about. I hope that it isn't in regard to continuing to seek justice for Stephen Smith or Gloria Satterfield. I hope that law enforcement and everyone else isn't weary of continuing to seek the truth, and not seek the truth, but seek justice. I was very moved by Judge Newman. Felt the weight and heaviness, and yes, kind of like Stacy said, I have conflicted feelings. It's a tragedy that happened, but I'm happy he was convicted and sentenced. Yes, very much so. I'm just glad that he will never be able to hurt anybody ever again, including his own family. The Attorney General, and yeah, I had a conversation with my husband about that last night. He is aware. He is in the National Guard. Wait, is that the Attorney General? Whatever, whoever he is. Some of them look alike. And I have this problem so horribly with a lot of my husband's friends. I'll never be able to identify people, especially when they're in uniform. And I meet them so many times. I'm a great military spouse. I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. And they're like, I've met you like 3 times. I'm like, yeah, nice to see you again. That's what I said. What did you hear? They all freaking look alike. They all look alike. I can't tell them apart. Yeah, that judge was very good. Yeah. Yeah, that could be true. I don't know, though. I don't know. It's all very strange. Sorry, I'm just watching their interactions. Although I would think it just if Alec were sentenced to death. I did not think the death penalty, whatever. I didn't think it was on the table. I didn't even think that was an option at this point, although we sure do it in the state. In fact, I think we're one of the only states that still has a firing squad. But yeah, that is true. They all look the same. I can't tell who they are out of uniform either, though. And that even includes my husband's work. And they don't really wear uniforms. Some of them wear shirts that have the company logo on there. But I straight up walked up to one lady one day and I was asking how her husband was. It was like a family get together thing. And she's like, he's standing right beside me. I'm like, oh, so-and-so. And granted, I have met this man multiple times. Like, I know who he is, but that day he did not look like him. He looked like another dude. Just, you can't really take me out anywhere. In South Carolina, is it the same as here where if he appeals, it goes to the same judge? I really don't know. I need to do some investigating on that as well. Let's see if I can look it up. I'm just writing Murdaugh appeal judge. And I'm confused when Judge Newman was speaking earlier about, you have this right or whatever, and I'm surprised you waived this right. Was he talking about Alec waived his right to an appeal? Because if that's the case, that's a big sign of conscious guilt, is it not? But I didn't catch what they were talking about. Rose says, I'm bad at recognizing people out of the context I know them from. I am, and in the context I know them from as well. I suck at life. Oh, he waived his right to speak at the sentencing. But he did, though. He said, I'm not guilty and I would never do this, and yada, yada, yada. Maybe you get to talk more? I can do you one better. I will convince myself I know someone's name, but really I just assign them. Oh, I do that too. In fact, one of my husband's friends, I swear, I used to have friends. I whatever name I come up with, that's their name. I'm like, no, he looks like a da-da-da. I've done that with my neighbor before. Had a neighbor. I really still don't remember his real name, but to me, he looked like a David. I know that's not his name, but in my head, that's what his name was. And nope, that's just what I called him. Sometimes to his face, whatever. I don't know what news outlet this is, but in the wake of the verdict, Murdaugh's defense team swiftly moved to have the proceedings cleared a mistrial, but Judge Clifton Newman rejected the appeal. The evidence of guilt is overwhelming. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to go listen to Uncivil Law on that, see what he says, or if I can, if he's talking about, I know he's talked about this a little bit, but if he's going to go into how appeals work and everything, he's the only one I can follow in regard to, though I really hated his viewpoint on George Floyd. I had to really stop watching him after that. But I do go to him from time to time because he gets to the point. Like, we're here for you because we don't understand the law. So understand the law for us. Explain it to us. And he does that. And it's not a lot of fluff and everything. And it's fine. That's what people are, if that is what people are after. But I need to hear the things so I can follow along. Spent almost a year calling a gym buddy Kim until one day she told me, I'm Michelle Wright. I've never turned so red, I'm sure. Why the hell didn't she correct you before? I don't get it. I feel like that one's on her. That's her fault. But I don't know. So apparently the judge has already rejected them saying they want a mistrial, which I thought that kind of happened during the trial. Can Alec appeal? Under South Carolina law, Murdaugh will have 30 days to file an appeal of his conviction. An appeal is fairly standard in murder cases, so that will likely happen. Yeah, but who would be over it? She let it go for almost a year. I was mortified. Yeah, I would be too, but also it's her fault. I'm wondering, I'm still really wanting to know what evidence tied to Stephen Smith, his death, was found at Moselle. I feel like it could be a vehicle because I guess, floating around the internet. I'm assuming it was probably Facebook. There were rumors that 2 vehicles were found buried on the property. One was a more recent vehicle, and the other one was from the 70s. And then the very next day, SLED put out a statement saying, I know we've seen all those rumors and everything, but don't worry, we checked with the Carlton County Police and they said it wasn't a thing. So it's not, those are just rumors. We believe you. We absolutely 100% believe you. And I know I saw it, and all of you probably saw on the Netflix documentary, the last little scene was talking about Gloria Satterfield's death. Was it homeowners insurance? The policy was increased like a few weeks before she passed. But I just saw it on the documentary. I don't know. I haven't read it anywhere. Moselle property insurance. Do you know people are going and freaking trespassing on the Moselle property? I mean, yeah. Of course they are. I was a teenager when the O.J. Simpson trial occurred. And I remember looking up at the news and seeing people going to where Nicole, I can't remember the guy's name, were murdered and getting their pictures taken. And there were still stains of blood on the ground. And that's one of those kind of coming of age moments where I realized people can be disgusting, crude, evil. I don't get it. Someone's death isn't entertainment. I've said it before, things can be interesting. All of this is interesting, but it's not entertainment. Bye, Rose. See you later. Yeah, he got $4 million in the settlement. But didn't it say, okay, let me read. Netflix Life, what? Netflix has like a blog or something? All right, let me read. Ooh, I can probably even share this bitch. Is this it? Yeah. Okay. Tripped and fell, blah, 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 documentary, obituary, how she died, yada, 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 yada. Her body is exhumed. It happened this past summer. Okay, I hate when things, I swear, like articles will, when you do a search, they'll have the little blurb of something, but then it's not in the actual article. Murdaugh encouraged them to pursue a wrongful death claim. Ugh. Okay, here it is. I'm sorry. So approximately 1 month before Gloria died on the Moselle property, Murdaugh took out commercial insurance and then allegedly collected more than $4.3 million. So that's a policy that he took out a month before she fell down the steps. And let me search this. Have any of you guys heard the 911 call for Gloria Satterfield? This is why I'm cautious, because she's She passed away, right? Horrible. Don't want to speak ill of the dead. But I'll just play it and see what you guys think. Great, I'm gonna get fucking news. Sorry, well, folks, this is used for fair use. Don't sue me. It's also public record. I understand I'm getting it from you, but probably shut the fuck up. And quit pitting people who...
9:24 a.m. 38 seconds, February 2, 2018.
Hold on. I feel like I'm just a shit show this morning. So this is the 911 call. Yeah, she did not sound concerned. This is the 911 call. You'll hear Maggie and Paul on the 911 call, and this is the day that Gloria, they say that dogs tripped her, and she fell and hit her head, and then a few weeks later succumbed to her injuries. All right, I'll play this real quick. Tell me what you think.
911, where's your emergency? 4147 Moselle Road.
That's Maggie.
Hey, can you give me the address one more time? Make sure I got it right. Yes, 4147 Moselle Road.
It's kind of disturbing in my opinion.
I'm sorry? What's going on out there? My housekeeper has fallen and her head is bleeding. I cannot get her up. Okay, you said she's fallen. She's bleeding from the head? Yes. Okay. How old is she? I'm not sure, like 58 maybe. Do you know if she fell from standing or not? No. Where'd she fall from? She fell going up the steps, up the brick steps. Okay, so she outside or inside? Outside. Okay. How many steps is there? 8. Okay, is she on the ground or is she up near the top? She's on the ground. Is she conscious? No, not really. Is she awake at all? Yes. Okay. Is she just not like responding appropriately, but she is awake? Man, she's not responding. Okay, I've already got them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down, ma'am. Knowing if she's conscious is one of the things that the medic needs to know if she's responding at all to you. No. Okay, so she's not responsive at all. Well, I mean, she's mumbling. Okay, so she is somewhat conscious. Is she breathing okay? Yes. Is she bleeding from anywhere? Yes, her head. Okay, are you guys able to control the bleeding? No. Can you put a clean rag or anything on it? Yeah, I got it. Okay, is she bleeding from like her face, the back of the head? I've got an ambulance coming. Sir, ma'am, what? Where exactly is she bleeding from on her head? I'm not sure, at the top of her head. Okay. What's it okay? Oh, gosh. What happened? She just fell back down. Can I get off this phone so I can go down there? Can I have your name and phone number? Or are you able to bring the phone down by her? What? Are you on a cell phone where you can walk down there and talk? I'm on a cell phone. No. Okay, can you bring it with you so we can ask her some questions about what kind of pain she's having? Hello? Yeah, can you ask the patient what kind of pain she's having? Ma'am, she can't talk. Okay, do you know... She's cracked her head and there's blood on the concrete and she's bleeding out of her left ear. Okay, she's bleeding out of her ear? And out of her head. She's cracked her skull. Okay. All right, the other lady said that she had tried to stand up and fell down again? No, I was holding her up. Okay. She told me to turn her loose, and she was trying to use her arm, but then she fell back over. Okay. Do you guys know who she is? Yes, she works for us. Okay. Do you know if she's ever had a stroke or anything before? Man, can you stop asking her questions? I already have them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down in any way. These are relevant questions that I have to ask for the ambulance. One of my questions is, has she ever had a stroke? I don't believe she's ever had a stroke, now that I know that. Okay. Okay, is she able to talk to you guys at all, or is she unconscious now? She's not unconscious, she's just mumbling. Okay. I believe she's maybe hit her head and maybe has a concussion or something. Okay. Maybe. Do you know what her name is? Gloria Satterfield. You said Sanderfield? Ma'am? You said Sanderfield? Satterfield. Satterfield. Okay, what's the house look like out there? It's offset off the road. Okay. It's a big house, got a long driveway. With a long driveway? Yeah. Is there a gate or anything down there that they're going to need to come through? There's two big brick columns that have to come through. Okay, but there's no, like, gate code or anything that they need? No, ma'am. And tell them that they can look for a fellow on a 6x6 Ranger. Okay. Waiting on them in the road is green. You know what they probably know what the Ranger looks like. Yeah. You said like green. Got on a black sweater, a hat, and pants. Okay. All right. If something changes with her, if she loses consciousness or anything like that, I need one of you guys to call me back right away, okay? Okay, well, how long is it going to take? Because this take us that I don't know. I've had them on the way since Maggie first called me. They were toned right away. Okay. All right, but I think they're coming. Hang on 1 minute. Let me check. They're coming from somewhere on Belt Highway in Ruffin, okay? That's where their station is. Thank you. All right, but like I said, if something changes, call me back. Yes, sir. Okay.
So that with the Netflix documentary with Morgan, Paul's girlfriend, saying that they were in a accident where one time where Paul flipped his truck. They're getting out of the truck. Morgan dialed 911, and Paul, like slapped the phone out of her hand, so to speak. I'm saying slap. I don't know. Shoot it away. Stopped the call. Was like, did you just call 911? Why? No, don't do that. And he called his grandfather instead, Alex's dad, the solicitor. Wasn't solicitor at the time, but had been for many, many years. And so out comes Paul's parents, to include Maggie and other members of the family. They start collecting beer cans out of the truck. I can't remember if it was Alec or Maggie was like, did you call 911? Oh God, you shouldn't have done that. So they basically took care of the whole situation. So everyone's saying that I'm sure Maggie probably didn't know about the financial things that Alec was doing in regard to his law firm, but again, that kind of behavior and covering up for your precious child is very common around here, regardless of if you're from a prominent family. And that kind of behavior coupled with the way Maggie was speaking on the 911 call made me become a bit suspicious of her involvement in things. I don't think she was some evil mastermind, but as a lot of women around here, it's definitely, oh, what? I'm blind in the eye. What? What's going on? I don't know. You know, I don't know. Nothing's going on. Just the sound of her voice seemed very bothered that she had to deal with this, seemed very bothered, almost like, gosh, she fell down. Like, why can't she just get up? Sort of type of attitude. Like she just bumped her head and we're making a big deal out of this. Yeah, my questions don't slow them down. Good for the operator. I agree that it can be. I feel like 911 operators need to say that from the get after they've asked the first couple questions. Like, all right, I've got help in the way. They're on the way. I'm going to continue asking you questions. They're going to continue to be on their way there as I ask you questions. But in regard to caring for Gloria, the 911 operator asked her, can you guys stop the bleeding? And Maggie was like, no, we haven't even tried. And then not like oh my God, what do you suggest? What can I do to help stop the bleeding? Nothing like that was said. And did not, again, sorry if you hear my stomach growling, just genuinely no sense of urgency to help Gloria herself. More annoyance is what I heard. Sina says, it's interesting that Maggie told Blanca that she would do anything to make the boat case go away and then ended up killed the same day. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. The more info the paramedics get, yeah, the better. They need to know things non-medical people wouldn't know was relevant. Right. Because if she fell because of a stroke, then they are not only treating the injuries, they're treating the stroke. Does she have a heart condition? Does she have a pacemaker? Does she have, these are all things that are going to help give her the best care when the paramedics arrive on the scene. And then Paul said something when the operator said she fell again, and he was like, no, she told me to let her go, and then she fell, whatever. I'm like, who told her to let Gloria go? Gloria was mumbling, they said, wasn't able to speak. Did Gloria say, let me go? Or was it Maggie that said, let her go? Yeah, you would think she would at least be upset. I'm not saying it's who Maggie's the one that did it, but said let her go. But again, if someone's disoriented, has their head cracked open, I'm trying to help them get up and they're like, let me go, I'd be like, I'd rather not. Or at least let me put my hand behind you as I set you down, help set you down or whatever. And yeah, everyone can react differently in every situation, yada, yada. But there, again, is kind of a whole picture that makes you think, they sounded annoyed. They sounded this. They sounded uninterested in helping her. She's helped cover Paul's car accidents before. I don't know. But thank you guys for being here. Sorry, I was getting emotional. I didn't expect to. I would have put my little avatar on. Oops. I've only ever had to call an ambulance once. It was for, my stomach. It was for a stranger, and I was way more upset and anxious. Sina says it's just weird because housekeepers are like family to most people. Yeah, and that's who, like Morgan was saying, Paul carried a photo of Gloria around in his wallet, felt like she was more of a mother figure than Maggie was. And Gloria also worked for Grandpa Randolph. So I don't know if she helped she did housekeeping for them. So it's someone Alec and his family would have grown up around, or if she helped nanny them or what. But I don't know in what capacity she worked for them. But the Netflix documentary did mention that she had worked previously for Grandpa Randolph. There's so many of them. All right, I'm going to go process this and eat something because apparently my stomach is telling me to. And again, thank you guys for being here. Hopefully justice will continue to be served. Take care of yourselves. Bye.